Okay, July 18th, 2025. This is how we currently do Ruby's food preparation. So I've already ground up food and I keep these underneath the counter. She gets 1.5 cups of food in the morning and 1.5 at night. And right now, half of the food, so 3/4 cup, is Purina EN low fat. They're vet foods that I ordered from Chewy. And the other half is 3/4 cup of regular EN Purina food. So trying to reduce calories a little bit by doing half and half. So I already put 3/4 cup of each in here. So 1.5 cups total. And then I use filtered water from the sink or bottled water, and I heat it in my microwave for 45 seconds. And I have it at 1 3/4 cup. And then I kind of slowly pour it in there. Let it all get wet. I don't dump it all at once, although most of the time she'll need it all. Sometimes it seems like it depends on how humid it is as to how much the dog food will absorb or whatever. But I'd rather start out thick and then add water because obviously you can't take the water out afterwards. So I've added most of it. Gets pretty thick, way too thick to eat, of course. That's okay. Then I take, this is BioCase, and these are the enzymes. She gets 1/2 teaspoon, and I measure it pretty accurately. 1/2 teaspoon plus 1/8 teaspoon. 1/8 teaspoon. And I cover it because this guy costs over $300, but luckily my insurance covers most of it. So you'll see what the enzymes do. They tend to thin out this concoction quite a bit, but it still won't be thin enough for her to eat because ultimately we're trying for a smoothie consistency. If we use cold water, the enzymes will not incubate and therefore they won't do their job and help her food to get digested. If she doesn't have her food digested with these enzymes, she will starve to death. So we don't want that. And if you use too hot of water, it will kill the enzymes right off the bat and they won't do their job. So even though when the water comes out of the microwave, it seems a little on the hot side, but once you stir it in here, it becomes kind of lukewarm, and that's about how we want it. A little warmer than room temperature. So you see it's thinned out quite a bit, but I'm going to add a little more of this water because it's pretty lumpy, and the water, additional water helps all those lumps of food to thin out while they absorb the water. So this has to sit at room temperature for 45 minutes to an hour, right around there. It doesn't have to be exact. And don't put it in the fridge, just leave it room temperature. Okay, so while that's sitting, I get her medicine ready, and this helps her acid reflux. So I get about a good tablespoon or so of unsweetened applesauce, and I put it in this little bowl, and I keep the Gerber baby food, beef baby food, because chicken makes her sick, beef baby food in the fridge, even when they're not opened, because they're nice and firm instead of watery, because I make a little meatball out of it. So with the meatball, she needs, for both meals, 30 milligrams of omeprazole. And they come in 20 milligrams. So I take a whole one, and then I have a pill cutter and half a one, and I stick them on there And then I kind of just bury them in there and make a little meatball. And also in the applesauce, she gets that one, that one. She gets metoclopramide. Okay, and I just give her a half. So I use my pill cutter and cut this metoclopramide in half. They're very tiny little pills anyway. So she just gets a half. And I use my pill crusher. And I have this up by her medicines and supplements. Crush it to a fine powder because she can never have pills or capsules or anything. I dump it in there and then I mix it up really well so that when I call her over to the couch and say, hey, applesauce treat, she goes and sits on the couch, looks out the window in a sitting position, and I just take this on my finger and plop it in her mouth, and she swallows it whole, which is good. You don't want her chewing those pills. And we don't crush those pills either because they don't work as well. It ruins the coating on there. And then she licks the applesauce with the metoclopramide in it. Then I set the timer for 2.5 minutes and I sit there with her, kind of propping her head up on my arm as she looks out the window, rub her throat a little bit, pat her side a little bit, help it to go down the hatch to her stomach. And sometimes I follow up with maybe 10 or so little Knox blocks while she's sitting there because I don't think she gets quite enough hydration. So, oh, and I do that. I give her eye drops. This is morning only. I give her eye drops, 1 drop each eye right before I call her on the couch for this. After she eats this, 30 minutes later, she gets her food. So it hasn't been 30 minutes, but this is thinned out quite a bit. We're going to want it even thinner, like a smoothie consistency. So that's the whole 1 3/4 cup water. So you can see you don't want it as thin as water, but you want it thick enough to go down, like a thick smoothie. It's still lumpy, but those will kind of go away once you stir it a couple times and let it sit for that 45 minutes to an hour. Okay, so right before I feed her, she gets 2 scoops of this Myos muscle formula, 2 scoops in there mixed up. And she gets 3.5 teaspoons of the omega oil. This has to be kept refrigerated. And after you open any baby food, it has to go in the refrigerator too. So she gets that mixed up in there. And then she gets more medicine. She gets her pain medicine now for her hip dysplasia. So one of the pain medicines, and it will say on here, I give every 12 hours for pain. I give her a half of one of these. This one's called Rimadol, but has generic names too. So these happen to be pink. Sometimes they look different depending on where I get them. I cut them in half because she gets a half in the morning and half at night. And since she can't have pills, I squish it up in here and I put it in the ladle. And along with that, in the ladle goes another pain pill, gabapentin. And these are capsules, which she cannot have capsules because the capsules just sit in her esophagus. So 2 capsules, we open them up, sprinkle the contents in the ladle, and then I add some baby food on top of that right before she eats to disguise the taste of it. And also the enzymes apparently taste bad. So I use Parmesan cheese and I sprinkle that on top of the ladle and the rest of the food, just a little bit to disguise the taste of enzymes and pills. And then I like to give her, there's a hair in there. I like to give her the ladle part first. I have her bowl sitting there, but I give her the ladle part first because then I kind of know she gets that medicine, that pain medicine. The only differences between morning food and evening food. Morning food, she gets the 3.5 teaspoons of this. and the 2 gabapentin opened capsules. At night, everything's the same, except she does not get the omega oil or the gabapentin, but she does still get that other half a pill of Rimadyl, the pain medicine. And there you go.